Hey, welcome Santa Clara Broncos. Welcome back to Crossing the Alameda, the podcast where we reconnect with the Santa Clara University class of 91 and catch up on their journeys, detours, bumps in the roads, and the adventures they've had unfolding from them since our days at the Mission campus. Every episode is a chance to hear a familiar name, remember a few stories, and get a glimpse of their lives of what we've built since leaving Santa Clara University. I'm AJ Riebli, and today I'm joined by a few of our classmates. First off, my good pal, Kari Morin in the Pacific Northwest. Hi, Kari.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Nice to have you
Good
here.
morning.
And from the East Coast, out of the fabulous state of the Garden State, New Jersey, our good friend Charles Michelet. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, AJ. Great to be here. Looking
Hello.
forward to this interview.
Me too. And last but not least, our pal on the other side of the pond, the Kliner, Mike Kline. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, good evening for me.
Good
It's
evening
awesome to see all
good
these.
evening in your case. That's correct.
Thank
Mike
you,
is
thank you.
in it.
It's good to see all your smiling faces. Very excited.
Mike, who's our guest today?
I am very excited to introduce our next guest. I have so many wonderful notes. I do apologize. You might see me read some of this, but I'm very excited to introduce Laura Helzerman-Johansson with us today. She's kindly joined us from the Pacific Northwest. You might remember her from her days at Swig or Dunn or some other places she lived near campus. She was an English literature major who loved the small discussions in the small classes of Santa Clara. She seemed to live everywhere. She lived on the half floor of Swig, the upper crust crowd of Swig, and all the way to Dunn. She also lived in the villas and the Safeway apartments. After graduating, she did move back to the Portland area and worked in outside sales for a decade. She raised her family and eventually found her way into real estate, where she's now been for more than 13 years. She and her husband, Mark, have been married for over 30 years, and they raised two daughters, Emily and Clara. When Clara was diagnosed as an infant with a degenerative retinal condition, Laura helped lead years of fundraising efforts that raised more than 150,000, round of applause, people, for the Foundation for Retinal Research. And she's also been a longtime Special Olympics volunteer, something she first connected with at Santa Clara. And I should give a shout out because I know she also helped my cousin with Special Olympics. So awesome kudos there. And then family life has included years of travel for Emily's collegiate softball career, and she's traveled around to see those games across the country. And now a new season of adventures, often gathering at local wine bars to hear Clara play piano for a room full of friends and family. Laura, we are so excited to have you here. Welcome to Crossing the Alameda.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Super fun. This format's really fun. Oh, excuse me. Yes, I pulled out a. Yes.
That's awesome.
I've got some hoodies too, I wear them regularly. I'm going to tell a funny story right off the bat about Santa Clara, that I loved my time there so much, and I talk about it a lot. And so it is well known and has been a running joke within my family and then within the Vikings softball, that it's like, I'll say something about Santa Clara and my daughters particularly will be like, "Oh, Mom, did you go to Santa Clara?" Like that they're so surprised. And so anyway, and then I also have, I got a French minor when I was at Santa Clara, and they're like, "Oh, did you minor in French at Santa Clara?" And when we went to France, they were like, "Oh, So anyway, it's been kind of an ongoing joke about, "Did you go to Santa Clara?" So then when my daughter played softball at Santa Clara, she played for Portland State, but they played Santa Clara. So we were at the field, and my friend Donna Bayless was with me, and Berlinski now, and we were walking across the stadium or whatever, the stands. And my friend Gina, who's one of the parents on the Vikings team, she goes, Laura! And I go, yeah. And she goes, did you go here? So it's like this joke just spans the entire, like all of the Portland State softball. They all know I went to Santa. I mean, it's just been a funny kind of ongoing joke about mom went to Santa Clara and she lets everybody know. So anyway,
That's awesome.
Nice.
Spectacular.
It's true.
yeah. Well, I had applied to what my parents thought were not enough schools based on I had a pretty good GPA and I was in my activities and such. So anyway, at the last minute, I applied to Santa Clara and University of the Pacific in Stockton. And so my mom and I went on a tour of both schools, and we went to University of the Pacific first. And when I got on Santa Clara's campus, I was like, well, this is where I'm going. It was just no question. I mean, and University of the Pacific, I wasn't super thrilled with the Stockton area per se. And I loved everything that the Bay Area directly had to offer as well. So it was, and the campus itself was just so spectacular.
Nerdy fun fact. Those are the two schools that, I was just going to say, a nerdy fun fact is those are the two schools that jockey to say they're the first university in California.
Interesting.
Yeah, they kind of go back and forth. They have like different reasons to say that. But anyway, this is kind of fun. My brother-in-law worked there briefly. That's how I knew that.
My daughter ended up playing at University of the Pacific too, so we got to see that campus through softball. So it's kind of fun to
Very
be back
cool.
at all of these schools that were kind of part of
Yeah.
my landscape early on, to go see them now and kind of how
Have fun.
they're all thriving. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I am so glad you're here because what you said about Santa Clara is so funny because my kids always say that everywhere you go, you meet someone from Santa Clara,
Yeah.
and you're one of the first memories they have because you were at a big family reunion at Black Butte when we were there.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah. That's right.
And
Yes,
they
yeah.
remember that. My kids were so little and they were like, you just saw a classmate? For not a huge school, everywhere I took them, I was always like yapping to someone from Santa Clara. So I love that.
Yeah, it is. There's a big Pacific Northwest contingent too, I think, that went down to Santa
Yeah.
Clara. So that's good.
One of the fun things about this podcast is like it's already so fun before we even hit record. So I was gonna ask you, were we box mates? But it turns out you were box mates with Steve Dice. So that's fun.
right.
Do you have any? Can you share a couple memories or funny stories that bring you back to Santa Clara?
Yeah, well, it's gosh, I was trying to think of specific ones. When we went to Santa Clara for softball, my friend Donna flew up from Arizona and we got an Airbnb and we stayed at this Airbnb. And my poor husband, God, I mean, can you imagine two best friends going to Santa Clara as 55-year-olds and walking around campus, and the amount of stories that just come out, like, and he just was like, okay, I wasn't really a part of it. I mean, but he was great. He was a great sport about it, but it was just like, but we were walking down memory lane so much when we were walking around campus, and it was so fun. It was just, from everything from Sandwich King and spinning the wheel at the Sandwich King to, we went and ate at Mountain Mike's Pizza, which I was like, okay, I forgot about it, but now here we are at the Franklin Mall. And it's just kind of funny. The friend group that I had included Donna's boyfriend, Milt. You guys remember Milt Simpson? Milt and Leighton Simpson? Yeah, he went by his whole name. And Larry, and then like Scott lived in that. It was the fireplace. It was like that group of guys, Brett Backman. And we actually got in touch with Brett not that long ago. And so I think he and I are Facebook friends still and whatever. So anyway, it's just fun, very fun to walk through campus and just remember things. She and I were just taking selfies everywhere. I was like in front of Swig, in front of the Mission Gardens. I mean, and just, it was such a great time there. It was a really good 4 years of just great experience and getting us ready and prepared, I think, for life.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, Kari, I was going to say, the thing I was going to tell you is what I remember is we always used to go down to 10th floor and watch Santa Barbara with you guys. And it was like you
Yeah.
and Julie Moran and Colleen Doherty. And oh my gosh, it was, and you guys welcomed us from the 11th floor because we didn't have a TV.
I know.
We just
You
had
guys
a
were on
big
the screw your roommate floor.
Yeah.
Screw
Yeah.
your roommate dance floor.
That's where we
So-
went to
yeah.
watch the
So-
planes land.
So you lived on the half floor swig. I was a transfer. I never lived in swig, so I don't know what the half floor means. Could you explain what the half floor of swig was and what was it like to live there?
So the 11th floor it was only girls, and we were just one half of the floor because the other half of the floor was like a great big huge, just a big open room. It was just like we had our floor meetings and stuff in there, and I think they used it for whatever, like you said, screw your roommate dances or whatever. And the other thing was we called it the Vader. Remember the elevator? We called it the Vader.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got
But
home
you guys,
and I called
weirdly, I feel like 11th floor people walked the stairs more than anyone else. And
Yeah, I
like
think
I
we
was
did,
thought, you
because
guys
it took
deserve
way
the
too long.
elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took way too long to go in the elevator. The only time we would do that is if we were really hungover. We're like, I can't do the stairs today.
Yeah, I do recall that elevator was very slow. So you were an English lit major, or English literature, much like my middle child. What drew you to that?
Well, I had to declare something. I was undeclared until I had to declare something. And we had to pick something that we enjoy. Like I was like, this is what I really liked was literature, and ended up, it was a great, like I would say, just the amount of papers and communication and everything else that we had to do in there prepared me well, kind of unbeknownst to me. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. People are always like, are you going to be a teacher? And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be a teacher. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I feel like Santa Clara in general and English lit specifically prepared me well for a lot of communications and that sort of thing that ended up being just what I determined was good for me is relationship business. And that's kind of why I loved when I was in packaging sales, for 10 years for a packaging company. When I moved back up here, it I love the relationship part of it, and building those relationships with my customers and stuff. And I love that about it. So then when it was kind of a natural jump for me when I had to figure out what my next step was to become a realtor. And that is because that's my real estate business is completely relationship based. I don't do any advertising. I just have referrals from family and friends and past clients. And so it's great. I love it.
It sounds like it's paid off very well for you.
There's a little bit of feedback. Are you guys getting the feedback?
AJ, I get some feedback from you.
Yeah. AJ, you have background sound when you came back in. Yeah. It's okay. I just
It sounds like running water or something.
you could yeah.
It's
We'll pick it out later. Anyway, just in time for your question.
No, it got
It's a little
better.
better now. It's better now.
Yeah.
Better
Much
now.
better. No.
Now it's good.
Nope.
Hi, welcome back. I thought about this because I've listened to some of the other episodes. And I thought about this, and I'm just going to run through a really quick day. I would do a whole day. And I would wake up in the morning and I would run to the Rose Garden because I loved you guys remember is the Rose Garden still there?
Yes.
Mission
yes.
Gardens,
Is it?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
you mean in San
Oh,
Jose,
the Rose
right? The
Garden.
one in San Jose.
Yeah.
that
It was
what
like
you
about
mean?
2 miles from campus.
2 miles.
Running, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 2
Yeah.
miles, 2 miles there, 2 miles back. And I did that
great.
so many times, and I loved it. Was just, yeah. So I'd run to the Rose Garden, and then I would come back and go to Sandwich King probably for lunch. But I would get a beer and I would spin the wheel and I would get some fries and a sandwich, all the good things. And then I would probably go to a sporting event. I didn't go to as many sporting events at Santa Clara. And now, having had a collegiate athlete, now I'm like, okay, I would have enjoyed more sporting events. Or should have gone to more sporting events. And so I would go to a sporting event and then probably hit Lord John's and the Hut, of course, although I went to the Hut when I was there. It's nice, but it's not the Hut that we know and love. It's upgraded.
AJ calls it a Shake Shack now.
Yeah. That's good. But I also would spend some time in the afternoon just kind of walking through the Mission Gardens and all of that. It's just so beautiful there.
I was going to ask you, but then I remembered you actually put this in your guest form, which I love. We like to ask people what songs bring them back. And you mentioned Steve Miller
Yeah.
Band, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, that's exactly what brings me back. Which songs in particular?
Oh my God. So of course Jungle Love or Jungle Love, and then The Joker,
Totally.
Big Old Jet Airliner. I mean, it's like the
Yes.
greatest hits. It's like
It is the soundtrack.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It is. It's the soundtrack from Santa Clara. I'm going to do a quick bullet point, you guys, of music because I feel like music is such a big soundtrack of your life situation, and there were so many factions of music at Santa Clara that I was just gonna. I was thinking I did an interval workout this morning, and I was running, so I was thinking of it makes me think about things, and so anyway, I came up with Bobby Brown. Remember Bobby Brown?
Yes.
Oh my God, and Milli
My
Vanilli.
prerogative.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Milli Vanilli.
And Milli Vanilli. Oh my God. Those were kind of like the more
Yeah.
pop ones. And then I went to the U2 concert at the Oakland Coliseum.
Okay.
I loved U2. I still love
Yes,
U2, but
same.
and I went to the Oakland Coliseum Rattle and Hum concert, and it was so good. Oh my gosh. So U2, and then Ann Powers and Sue that lived across the hall from me in Swig, they would play Steely Dan all the time. So there was a lot of Steely Dan. And then when I
Amazing.
lived at the Safeways, there was the downstairs neighbors of ours at the Safeways. Every Friday afternoon at it was 1 or 2 o'clock, they would play Ramble On by Led Zeppelin or Robert Plant or whatever. And oh
So
my gosh,
good.
when I hear that song right now, it just takes me right back to Santa Clara. So anyway, those were some of that I came up with that were just snapshots of Santa Clara life,
That's brilliant.
Wow.
That's good. We'll give a little
So
plug. We
good.
have a little Spotify playlist.
Ooh, excellent. Oh my, oh yeah. Oh, Bob Marley. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be cruel, Bobby Brown. Don't be cruel. Oh my God.
Don't be cool.
Music is
so good.
music is
And we lost
amazing.
AJ again.
Yeah, I think we have a bad connection
Yep.
for AJ. But yeah, there's the playlist there. So feel free. I'll try to share it with you so you can add music to it. You can be an editor if you're on Spotify. But yeah, I laugh. I crack up. I listened to the playlist during work last week, and I was just like, this is crazy. It's taking me back to all the little spots of Santa Clara.
That's so
That's
right.
so fun.
Speaking of Bobby Brown, I don't think this is one of those questions that would embarrass her, shares that would embarrass her, but Jackie and I have a distinct memory of Jackie, Meek, and I standing on our desks singing into hairbrushes to some Bobby Browns.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So good.
I remember
Okay. Well, let's-
Steve Laga and I just screaming out the Beatles Revolution, just singing.
Oh,
So good.
So powerful. Well,
Music
let's
is
move forward.
brilliant.
Let's fast forward from the dorm days and let's talk about what life has looked like since graduation. We left the mission. Walk us through your journey from graduation to where you are today, and what are the twists and turning points along the way.
Yeah. Life is so fun and interesting, isn't it? It's just been fun to listen to different people's stories and kind of the twists and turns that things have made, that have happened for people along the way and how that shapes them. And I think it's so fascinating. So I moved back up here right after graduation, and I lived near Lewis and Clark College with Lisa Stiles. You guys remember Lisa, and Christy Morin. Aunt Moran, who is now, or Christine Nuxall, and now it's Moran. She married John Moran. And then Susan Farrell lived with her parents, but she spent pretty much every weekend with us, going around to all the Lake Oswego. We lived in Lake Oswego near Lewis and Clark, and because Lisa was going to her grad program at Lewis and Clark. So we were living in a brand new apartment in Lake Oswego, which when you've lived at the Safeway apartments and then you move to a brand new apartment in Lake Oswego, you feel like, oh my goodness, we are living large. We're paying a third of what we paid at Santa Clara for a dump apartment that we shared with. I had a roommate, like Lisa and I shared a bedroom at the Safeways. And anyway, so I moved back up here, and then we got to be good friends with some of the football players from Lewis and Clark. So we hung out with them, and that was really fun. And then the feedback I think might be back.
Yeah, the feedback is back.
So anyway, so we and then I got it's kind of that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so that's where I ended up getting my job at, it was CalPac Container when I first started working there, and they're a packaging distributor. So they would buy packaging from manufacturers and then we'd sell them to end users. So it was everything from glass containers to beer bottles and to vitamin packaging to food packaging. And so we would store it and then get it out to end users. And so I worked just as an outside sales rep for them. And it was such a great job. I loved it. As for 10 years, I worked there. And it was great until I had kids, and then there wasn't really any remote work at that time. That wasn't a thing that we had. So I decided to leave Tricor, and it was CalPac Container, then it was Caliber Packaging, and then it was Tricor Packaging, and then it was Tricor Bronze. So there was a lot of consolidation happening there, and it was a lot of where it became less about the person and just more about the numbers, and that was just kind of the landscape of business at the time. And I just didn't feel like I could be a mom to my kids the way I wanted to be and do that full time. So Mark and I got married we met when I first moved back. We met when I was 22 and we got married when I was 25, and he was 28, and he was a he was a pitcher for Spokane Falls Community College, and he came back down and he went to Portland State. So he knew one of my friends from high school, so we met through her, and she went to college at Portland State with him. So she was like, I've got this guy I want you to meet. And I was like, okay, so I met him, and he's so quiet, especially when I first met him. He's so quiet. And I was like, okay, I don't know if that'll work out. He seems, it was kind of the opposites attract situations. And he has just been, he's just I don't know, like I just would say he's so solid. One of my best friends gave us these stones that we had at a dinner one time that were painted with a word that she thought described our personalities. And so she handed one out to everybody at the party, and mine was spirit and his was cornerstone, because he's just so calm. He's just so unaffected. I mean, he just is like the opposite kind of my personality, and it turns out that actually works out really well. In a relationship. So anyway, we were married in 1995, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll have kids maybe say 4 years or so after we've been married. And after 4 years, we were like, are you ready to have kids? I'm like, no. And I'm like, are you ready? No. So anyway, we waited a couple more years. And so 6 years after we got married, we ended up having our first daughter, Emily. And then we had Clara 2 years later. And when I left Tricor, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I just knew I wanted to create a life where I could be with them more than just like working full time and then being in daycare all day. And so I ended up getting a job. Mark was working. He had kind of an interesting path. Like he decided to go back to school to become a teacher later in life. Like when he was 45, I think he went back to school to become a teacher. And then the whole 2008, you would think that wouldn't have affected teaching, but it did end up affecting teaching later because the tax, it's like all the tax implications and all of that. So then there was all these layoffs at schools, and then he couldn't get a job as a teacher after he had gotten his master's in teaching. So he and I cobbled together all of these kind of part-time jobs to be able to do that. And then he got a full-time job working outside of teaching. And then I decided when my kids were in middle school to go back and get my real estate license. So I did that. And then that was the best thing I ever did. Like it just worked out great. And then he got a full-time teaching job. And so then we were just off and rolling with kind of a schedule that allowed flexibility for me, kind of when the kids were, in school, and I could go to all their activities and that sort of thing. And then in the summertime, he was off, so he could go when Emily was playing competitive travel ball and stuff like that, he could go to a lot of her stuff. I was during that time, that was the spring and summer when I was super busy with work. So I ended up not being able to travel when she was playing travel ball. But as things slowed down a little bit for me and the kind of the season shifted for her a little bit once she got into college, where it's in the spring, it's like February through May. And so my husband and I both just decided we are going to as many of her things that we possibly can. And it was really fun to watch her, kind of blossom as a collegiate athlete. And she ended up getting the conference player of the year for her conference and stuff. So it was really fun. And then Clara, our younger daughter, she has so many fun activities that she does. She plays the piano beautifully. She was diagnosed at 8 months with a degenerative retinal condition, so she doesn't see very well. And so sports has never been her thing, which actually, when you have kids that are only 2 years apart, that works out great because they're not super competitive with each other because they're just in different realms, And Clara found her stride with FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America, in high school. And she was a state champ with doing impromptu speech for the FBLA conference and stuff. So she just has found her stride with doing speech and debate. And so she went to Linfield University and now she graduated in June 1st of last year. And now she's an adjunct professor at Linfield, teaching 2 communications classes in the fall. And now she's doing 2 more that just started again. So then she's going to get her master's at Brunel University starting in September over in England. And so she would like to be a college professor. I know, Mike, I was thinking about that. So she went over to Nottingham, England, her junior year and spent her all of fall over there. And then we went over there as a family right before Christmas and spent like 18 days over there, the 4 of us, which is our first real family trip, because when you've got kids that play competitive sports, it's just that. It's all
Yeah.
that. And then Claire was involved in other activities. So a lot of times she would do her own thing. And we, thankfully we have grandparents and stuff here in the area that we could leave her with if we were traveling with Em or a lot of times when Em was playing competitive travel ball, we would just send her with the team. It was great training for college because when she was starting in 9th grade, they would go down to California and play at Huntington. They would play in Colorado, and she would go down there with a team, and she would stay in a team room, and the coaches would drive them around, and it was great training. They're responsible for all their own things, and all of that. So it gets them ready for.
Yeah. I want to go back to, I think we have more questions about stuff that you've shared because this is really, it's been so cool listening to this journey. But I want to go back to this idea of how cool. I remember, because I did JVC, so I didn't get to do this, but I remember envying everyone who kind of lived together right after college. And you had that up here. You said Lisa, Christy, and Susan. Well, Susan hung out with you guys. That sounds so special, informative, and especially tender because you couldn't have known you were going to lose Lisa so young. And I'm so glad you brought that up so that we could remember her, because we have a lot of classmates at this point, that we're realizing on these recordings that we're all missing. So I just remember, I imagine those memories must carry even more tenderness for you now. What has that been like for you to take Santa Clara right out of college and into your life?
Yeah, it was kind of, it was really fun because my kids are in those years right now, in those formative post-college years right now. My daughter, my older daughter, she moved to Nashville, and she has a girlfriend that they're living together in Nashville, and they're trying to figure out their lives and their responsibilities and how do you live, especially both of them were collegiate athletes. So they're so used to everything being so structured for them, and now it's okay, you got to register your car and you got to, stuff that gets taken care of for you when you're an athlete. So it's interesting because I had to reflect on that a little bit to kind of counsel and guide her when they were moving and there was a lot of stuff going on and they both have businesses that they're trying to get up and going, about how did we figure all of that stuff out to live on our own? Because my parents only lived 30 minutes from me, but I had never intended to move back home with my folks again after I graduated, love my parents, but I was like, my parents were kind of like of this mindset of like, we'll take care of college and we'll give you a car to get you to a job so you can be on your own. And I'm one of four girls, so it's kind of like, I think they kind of just like, we'll launch you, but you guys need to figure out how to live independently after you're done. And so it got me thinking a little bit about how it's different for kids nowadays that are launching, that are, say, working from home. And when I went to Tricor, I had my boss there was 10 years older than me, and his wife was 10 years older or 7 years older than him, I think. And so, but we went to an office every single day, and they were just that much older than me that they were really good sounding boards and mentors and all of that stuff for that. And then Kari, like you said too, having my community of friends that we all lived together. So that was great. We all had boyfriends too. And that got a little tricky when it's like 6 of us living in an apartment, really, because all of our boyfriends came over. And so it was like, oh my goodness, we really did have, and then there was all these football players that lived next door to us in the apartments. And so anyway, it was really fun, and it was just, there was always something to do. I mean, and I got into running a lot after I graduated from Santa Clara, and Mark and I ran the Portland Marathon together. So I would go out on these training runs for like, I don't know, ridiculous. Like one of my upstairs neighbors was like, "You would be gone for like 3 hours." Like, it's kind of, but I was one and done on the marathon, but it was really fun. Mark and I, that was one of the ways we kind of dated, was to go on, runs together and do, like, Portland has so many events, like as far as the Shamrock Run and all these different runs that we did. And then we did the pull pedal paddle over in Bend together, which is super fun, like a
That's so
skiing
cool.
and running and biking and canoeing event over in Bend. And so, and Susan was really into running. And then once Susan and I both had kids and we moved down here, she lives up in North or Southeast Portland. But we got together, and I would watch Jack, her son, while she would go run. And then she would come back to my house, and then I would go run and she would watch my girls with Jack while, so it was just, we kind of figured out these ways but I think that kind of having that organic kind of built-in community in Portland was really nice after graduating.
That's so nice.
That's amazing. That is wonderful. And yeah, Sue, shout out to Sue Farrell. Sue, what's her last name
Yeah.
now? White's forget her last name
Wensing.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, Wensing.
combined
Her
science friend and
husband.
buddy.
Yes, I know. You guys made a lot of labs together, right? Yeah. She married, my dad was an ophthalmologist, and she married an ophthalmologist. So anyway, we had some good connections with that. And so that was kind of the ironic thing, is when my daughter got diagnosed with a degenerative retinal condition after my dad had been an ophthalmologist for 35 years,
Wow.
that she had a condition that my dad, after years of treating people with vision impairment and blindness, that he just there's nothing that he could really do to help her besides just getting us in touch with the right people to put her on the path to success. So, and that's one of those things, when you're talking about kind of these twists and turns that life takes that you're not prepared for, but also just not expecting in your life. And sometimes those things turn out to be the biggest blessings that you never saw coming. That sounds interesting to say, but it's like the amount of amazing people that we met through the Foundation for Retinal Research. When Clara was first diagnosed with, it's called Leber's congenital amaurosis, and it's degenerative, although the gene mutation that she has is historically relatively stable. So we're hopeful, but we don't know. When we first found out and she got diagnosed with it, we were put in touch with the Foundation for Retinal Research, and she's like a year old. And Mark and I went to a conference down in LA, and we just saw this whole range of kids from, Claire's age on that, like blind adults that were doing just amazing things, and lawyers, and like, and kids getting around with their canes. And we didn't know at that time how much vision Clara had. And so it was just it was just to be able to be among people and seeing, it was just a huge like balm for us because we were so heartbroken when we first found out, it's like, and so anyway, for us to be with those people who really get it at that point, and then for us to go through, the Foundation for Retinal Research disbanded probably around 10 years ago, maybe. And because the people who founded the Foundation for Retinal Research felt like their expertise was better handled with the Foundation Fighting Blindness, which is just a huge organization that is Foundation for Retinal Research was really grassroots. So we would hold these walks and silent auctions and stuff, and raise awareness for blindness and visual impairment, and raise money to fund research for treatments and cures and support for people with blindness and visual impairment. The real money for the research and that sort of thing was coming from companies. And so the Brints, the family that started the foundation, went on to be on the board at the Foundation Fighting Blindness, which just their expertise was just served better there. They were able to raise a lot more money for the cause by being on the board of Foundation Fighting Blindness. So anyway, that's kind of the path that went down. But the community around us, like, that attended our walks, we would do it in May. We did it every year for a long time, and we would do walks and silent auction combination at Tualatin Community Park. And it was just such a great event that, our neighbors would be volunteers and help. And it just was such a fun event for us to put on, and it was a lot of work, but it was great. And it just created, and it kind of evolved a little bit to being a little bit more of awareness raising versus fundraising, because we would do activities at the event where we would have like these people would put on sleep shades, and or they would put on acuity goggles, which are goggles that simulate different vision acuities. And then we'd have them do tasks. So like put on a sleep shade and try and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or, just things that people have to do every day. Or to go out in the field and throw a ball to each other with, acuity goggles on where you can't really see. So it was really a neat way for people to really because people don't know the incident level. It is pretty high incidence in older people, but not so much in younger people. And so it was a great way for people to understand a little bit more kind of what Clara's eye condition is, and what she was dealing with. And then once she got to be about, I think it was about 7th or 8th grade, she didn't want as much of that like attention drawn to her. She just wanted to be a normal kid. And so that, and the Foundation for Retinal Research disbanded, and we were like, okay, well, this will be a time for us to kind of step away from that and let her develop into her own person, doing the things that she wants to do and supporting her in that way. So anyway, that's kind of our path with the Foundation for Retinal Research and that sort of thing. But over the course of the 10 years or so that we were doing it, we raised $150,000 for the foundation. And it's so interesting too, like her path with it is that we've talked about whether or not if there was a cure that came down the pike, which was all we were working for when we first found out about it. And she's like, it would have to be something that I felt would really improve my quality of life for me to do a treatment or a cure for it. Because she's learned how to live her life and be successful without, and it just kind of, that was an interesting pivot or shift, I think, in mindset for us when she told us that, because we were like, okay, well, then if you're good, we're good. You just want your kids to be happy. And so is kind of, that kind of helped us get to that realization of like, we're working towards something that she may or may not even want to experience, So anyway.
I really relate to that in so many ways, especially them teach, like, there's no point in you being, driven or sadder about something than they are.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's one thing too, I think is so important with just kids in general, is like, I think our role with them is just to be the support person that when they're figuring out what they love, and then figuring out how can you support them the best way in the things that they love, instead of trying to push them toward things that they don't.
True.
You
So
know, it's
true.
like expose them to as many, it's like if they show an interest in something. Emily, my older daughter, played youth football in the 8th grade with the boys. I mean, like tackle
Good for
youth
her.
football. It's like
Amazing.
she was lobbying for this since she was in the 3rd grade. And I was like, oh, Emily, I don't know, honey. It's very dangerous. And so anyway, finally, 7th grade, she gave me a note. She like handed me a note that she wrote a letter that said, Mom, you always encourage us to try new things and to be, and this is what I want to do. And for you saying no is, and I was like, okay, that's a good point. All right. And this is, if she was going to do it, that was a year, because then the boys just get so much bigger from 8th grade to 9th grade. So she did, she played it. She was one season, one and done, but she stuck it out the whole season, and she caught a pass, and she didn't score a touchdown, but
Nice.
the boys really respected her. She could throw a ball better than most of the boys could.
That's awesome. Yeah, they are our greatest teachers. Oliver. I always heard that like the best parenting advice is, look, just get out of their way and let them show you
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
great.
That's so true.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just at awe. That was such a beautiful story that you shared. I'm
Thank you.
really kind of
It's
lost for
been one,
words.
and that, it's one of those things where you picture, there's this beautiful, it was called Welcome to Holland. I don't know, Carrie, have you ever heard that poem?
Yes.
I think it was like Irma Bombeck, I think, might have written it. I can't remember, but it was a parent that wrote it that had a kid that was born with a challenge of some sort, and it was something to the effect of, like, the whole gist of it was like you had got on a plane, you thought you're going to Italy, and you've heard all these things that were happening in Italy, and this is what's going to happen and what life's going to be like in Italy, and then all of a sudden you get off the plane and you're in Holland, and you're like, wait, what am I doing here? And then you realize that Holland is actually a very beautiful place. And then you start looking around and you're like, wow, this is incredible. And I am, this is where I'm supposed to be instead of in Italy. So anyway, it's a beautiful story that, yeah, I've always kind of related to that. And right now,
Yeah.
with Clara being the adjunct professor at Linfield, she doesn't drive. And so I take her out there 2 days a week to teach. And I'm out there for 7 hours at a time. And I just like, I think I told this on my thing, but I'm like, I wear my hoodie and my yoga pants and I go walk around campus with my backpack and, get my miles in and then I go to the library and I read or I work at the library and I feel like I'm back on campus.
That's awesome. So great.
I feel like I should go sit in on a couple classes, actually, is what I should do.
Good idea.
Not
It
hers,
is.
though. I'll get
No.
out of her way. That's my mom in the back. Yeah. I'll be back to pick you up at 7. Okay. I packed you a lunch, honey.
And use some like current slang.
Yeah.
Oh, kids love
6,
that.
7.
So good.
Sigma. But one thing is funny
Yeah.
because like remote working, it's just funny how like, I mean, my daughter's competitive in her sport, but I follow around and I take my laptop places and I work in these little offices and try to sometimes get the quiet car for the meetings. But
Yeah.
it is funny how you can just walk around these days and just, you have your computer, you can connect, you can work. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's awesome. I feel like, and it is kind of that. I've talked to a lot of my friends who my age, and it's just an interesting, like, there isn't a lot quite as much anymore as it was like that office kind of environment like we used to have if you worked in an office when you first graduated, like I did. It's like sometimes, I mean, I sold packaging, so I honestly felt like there were times that I was working at Dunder Mifflin. I mean, I would watch The Office and I'm like, okay, this is very reminiscent of my days at selling packaging instead of paper at Dunder Mifflin. I mean, it's funny. I could relate to those office dynamics and just all of that. But it's like, I don't think kids as much these days have quite that same, experience.
That reminds me. My kids asked me one day, "It's like, why don't you like watching The Office?" I'm like, I lived too much of that. I don't need to watch something that I've experienced.
People are like, do you watch The Property Brothers? And I'm like, no, I sell real estate. I don't want to watch The Property Brothers. I'm like, it's too similar.
Amazing.
I was going to look at one of the things you guys have talked about. I worked at DSA Museum at Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was special events coordinator, and when I was there, it was. Remember how junior year was always like our hardest year in like academically. Yeah.
Sort of. Because I studied abroad in the fall, I feel like, but maybe.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Well, you might have had stuff to make up too a little bit.
Probably.
If you didn't
Yeah.
get credit or that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like, the deputy director of the museum went on maternity leave when I was there, and so I must have been spring of because or maybe I don't know. I think it was because I went on semester at sea my junior year, also fall. So I missed the earthquake. Also, I was on a ship around
Ah.
going around the world. But the deputy director went on maternity leave, and so then I was like and then I had the hardest academic schedule, and so I just remembered like that was a grind that year. It must have been spring. It must have been spring of my junior year because I came back after the fall term on semester at sea. So must have been my springs. But there were special events there, so I would coordinate the art guard. They called it art guard. It was like staffing people, and basically we just sat there and did our homework and so sometimes I would schedule myself in. So I would sit there at a table as people came into the museum, and I would get paid to do my homework as people probably wasn't
So
guarding
cool.
the art as much as I should have been.
That's a pretty
But
neat feature of Santa Clara, that museum. It's pretty
yeah,
neat.
yeah. There's a lot of
Am I imagining that you had to get dressed up sometimes for that?
Yeah, yeah, because there'd
I
be
feel
events
like
like non they would host events for like the community, so it'd be a little
that's cool.
fancier. Yeah.
I just remember thinking, like, does she have a job interview? And you'd be like, no, I'm working.
Yeah. Do you remember Cynthia? Cynthia was
Brene?
our RA she was our RA on our floor on the 11th floor.
I recall
Yes.
her.
Yeah, she was so nice, you
Yes.
guys. She was the nicest RA. She was the one that got me the job because it was her job. And then I think maybe she was going on study abroad or something. So she was the one that kind of helped me get that job. I think that's one of the takeaways from it's just like it's not what you know, it's who you know for
Sure.
making, making
Yeah.
inroads, you know?
Makes a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah.
So
It
Laura,
does.
with your daughters launching into their lives, your careers, how do you find your role changing? What's that been
Yeah,
like?
I think it's kind of stepping back. I've kind of they're both pretty self-sufficient for the most part, so I've not had to, and they've been decent students and that kind of thing. So I never had to be too helicoptery on them,
Mm,
but kind of maybe waiting for them to come to me for advice and questions versus me trying to offer it if it's not asked for. I
Okay.
work hard on that. It's like I think it's hard for us as parents. We just want them, like we said, to be happy and like we think we know what we're doing. So but it has been good for me lately to kind of just realize like, look, I don't have all the answers at all. And I learn a lot from them now. They know so much more than I do anymore. I'm like, wait, who is that person? Or we're watching even the Olympics, like
Mm,
some of the Olympic stories and stuff like that. It's like they're just all, and they're just wise to the world more so than I am. And even though I try and stay relevant and hip, I'm not.
mm,
We can try, but and now it's kind of fun. We just got back from Cabo. My thing now is providing opportunities to travel with my kids and giving like my husband and I both felt like we worked so hard for so long without so we went 6 years without having kids, then we had kids, and then it was just all about the kids and like all of those activities and funding them and all of that and figuring out how to do that the best way we could. And now we're like, okay, it's kind of our turn now. And we
mm,
got a one of the things I got from Mark, I think it was for his birthday last year, was a passport book for the MLB parks. So it's like a stamp book to go. We love bat and ball sports. Like we love baseball. We love college softball. We watch it a lot on TV. The Mariners are our team, and the Mariners had such a great year last year, finally. And so that was fun. But
That was
anyways,
exciting.
it's been a big year for Seattle sports.
I know.
What? We're not used to this. But anyway, so we've been enjoying going to different MLB parks and getting our passport stamps in. There's these places that you can go in the parks, and they put this little stamp in the book. And so we want to get around and get to as many of those MLB parks as we can. So that's fun. But also more international travel. We just didn't have the time or, the kind of the resources, I think, to do that when the kids were younger. So, and they love it, and they're very fun to travel with. So that makes it
fun.
Yeah, makes it cool.
There's an MLB game now in London, so you could come to that.
Yeah.
Tottenham
And Claire will be
Hotspur.
over there. Do you know when that is? Is that the beginning of the season?
It's towards the beginning, if I recall
Okay.
correctly. I don't remember
Okay.
the exact date, but they had one.
Ooh.
I think they're going to have more this year, if I recall.
That's really
But
cool.
yeah.
So Clara will
And-
be there from September of 26 till September of 27. So maybe we could do the spring of 27 game when she's over there, She wouldn't
Awesome.
want to go. She doesn't really like baseball per se as much as Mark and I do, but we could go visit her and go do that.
And you're welcome
That's so
to
funny.
stay in our guest room.
Well, thank you. Are you in London? Did I hear you were
We
in Spain
are.
too?
Yeah, I'm in about half my time I'm in London. My youngest daughter lives with her mom in Madrid, and so
Okay.
I spend about half my time there. But
Nice.
yeah, we're about 30 minutes. It depends on if you get the fast train or the slow train. We're about 30
Yeah.
minutes outside London.
Okay. And what?
This is a great incentive to come on the show, get an invitation to London.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, we'll be there in September.
Well, I was thinking the other day, maybe we could change houses, Portland people, if you want to come to
Oh,
London.
there you go.
Yeah,
We
that's
can
a
do
good
the-
idea.
We can do the
Yeah.
holiday.
Yeah.
Do you have a cute cottage in the Cotswolds, Mike?
Yeah,
No, sorry,
Jude
we're
Law
not.
live in
We're
your
not in the
neighborhood?
Cotswolds.
Yeah. Only Jude Law will open the door and.
Let me think. I was trying to think. Do I have any cute neighbor? I don't remember any cute neighbors around. But yeah. But I'm near the downtown, one of the downtown Abbey houses. So
Okay.
Neat.
Okay.
not that we're not
Alright.
posh, but you go a kilometer that way, it's nice land. Yes.
Oh yeah, we
Nice.
had fun in London. We did 4 days in London. We went up to Nottingham when we went over, and then we did 4 days in London, and just during Christmas. And so there's all the markets and everything. Oh my gosh, so
A lot
fun.
of markets
So-
nowadays. Yeah. Whew,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. So very.
What's
fun.
been your
Laura-
favorite trip so far? Would you say?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I would have to say that trip to England,
Yeah.
well, Europe,
brilliant.
because we did Nottingham, and then we did London for 4 days, and we did Christmas in Paris, which was just incredible. And then we went to Brussels. I would have liked to have gone to Brugge, but we just didn't have time. And then we went up to Amsterdam for New Year's, and then we flew back home on the 3rd. And it was 18 days, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to be with all 4 of us. We've never all traveled, like, especially for like that extended period of time. And it was
gosh.
so fun. It was just, I just booked everything. I did like the train travel, and it wasn't like we had a travel agent or anything. It was just me figuring it all out. The kids were like, "Mom's spinning again," because I would have my cell phone and I'd be like, "Okay, we're going this way. Let's walk this way." It's just like, oh gosh.
That's awesome.
We have so many like little family jokes that came out of it that we say now, after having been there. And so anyway, it was really fun. And it was close quarters a lot of the times too. Like we did it on a bit of a budget, it was like 18 days over there. So it was like, we didn't get like the posh hotels or anything. We did some Airbnbs. We did some just little like rooms that had like,
Pensions.
yeah. We had like 2 queen beds in the room, and the girls and Mark and I were all in the room. We all had our earplugs for snoring and all of that. So, but anyway, they were good sports about it all. We weren't in the rooms hardly at all anyway, so that didn't really matter. But anyway, it was great. It was so fun to travel with them, and they hadn't really been exposed to that sort of thing until, I mean, they've both traveled around quite a bit in the United States. Claire did a lot of travel with speech and debate for Linfield. And then Emily, obviously, a lot with, but pretty much, we went to, when my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, like probably about 12 years ago, we went to Akumal in Mexico as a family. There was like 19 of us that went, and it was so much fun. But that was all kind of organized, that was different than this, where you're just, and then when you travel with the kids and they're older, they can just like, Emily and Claire, like Mark and I wanted to go see like Buckingham Palace and all of that stuff, and they were kind of like not really into that, but they wanted to go to is it came not came oh my god, what's it
Oxford?
called, where all the thrift
Oxford?
stores?
Oh, the
No,
thrift stores, Brick Lane?
Oh, Notting Hill?
Or there's
no,
Portobello.
my gosh,
Well,
I'll have to
there's
ask
a
Claire.
quite a few different markets, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's gonna be like, "Can't believe you didn't remember that." But anyway, the other thing is that Mark and I went to go see. It was called Dear England, and it was a show in the West End about a soccer team, a football team, and it was really really good. And they were like, "Well, we'll go to our own show," so they went to go see Hamilton, and I'm like, "You're in London, and you're gonna go see Hamilton." This is ironic. There's
That is very
British
funny.
shows that you can go to.
Yeah.
But they had a blast. They went and did their own thing, and it was great. So it's fun when they're older, and then they can go travel around because they have each other and go do their own things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Um,
That's good.
There's so much. It's so fun talking to you about everything that you've been up to, because I keep thinking, why haven't we seen each other more? It's like I waited 6 years to have kids. We have kids around the same age, like so many similar things. Like no wonder we don't see each other.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. I think Charles was going to ask you a little bit about volunteer work, but before we get there, I just want to say I'm so grateful, because like so much of the work that you've done has benefited my son, like, for Special Olympics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm so grateful you do what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, I got introduced to that at Santa Clara. Donna and I, one day, there was just a basketball tournament at the Levy or whatever. And so we went over and we just jumped in and volunteered, and we had so much fun. It was exhausting. It was all day, but it was so much fun. And then when I moved back up here to Portland, I literally drove by. I worked in the Northwest Industrial area in Portland. So I would drive right by Special Olympics Oregon every single day. And I was like, I just got to pop in there one of these days. So I did. And, there was a soccer tournament coming up. So I volunteered for that. And then the guy that was that was like the director of the soccer tournament that year, he did it 1 year and then he was done. And then they were like, "Oh, Laura, do you want to be the director for this?" I was like, okay. So I did. I don't know what I was doing, but I found there was a guy named Matt who was great with like the bracketology part of it. I don't understand. I like, my daughter's been playing softball since she was in second grade, and I still don't understand bracketing. I don't.
My kids are they're like weirdly expert on bracketology.
Yeah, it's not
it's
my
math.
thing. So I was like the people person, and then he was like, he handled all of the like who's playing who and where and all of that stuff. So it worked out great. And then now they moved. That was at the Tualatin Hills Park and Rec for a number of years, and then they moved it to Providence Park and teamed up with Timbers. And so it is just a whole thing, the fall games, and it's just been awesome. And they had a couple of years in there between the pandemic and some funding, um uh Special Olympics, where they had to cut a lot of the programs for a little while, and it was
Yeah.
very detrimental for those athletes that depended on it for community and engagement and all of that stuff. I mean, so for it to be back is just so great. And so we've been doing every year the fall games at Providence Park, and then I've been doing the polar plunge. I did the super plunge 1 year, which is insane. You do it's like there's about a dozen of us or so, and you have to raise $3,000 to get the privilege of being a super plunger. So I had just gotten into real estate, so I kind of used that as like I was like, okay, I'm doing this thing. Who wants to support me? And so anyway, I had enough people donate and donated some myself to be able to have the $3,000 to be able to participate. And then every hour on the hour for 24 hours, you run into the Columbia River. And it's like there's tents set up, and there's like you bring like a chaise lounge camping chair that you and a sleeping bag so you can, and then there's not washers but dryer so you can throw your clothes into the dryer. You bring literally probably 7 different outfits or so to be able to just alternate and layer up and put clothes back on after you've gone in the river. And it is crazy. But then like Voodoo Donuts and Joe's Burgers and all these guys all sponsor it. So then they bring food in, and then they have every hour they assign somebody to be the captain of the team for that hour. So then you get to come up with a theme. So we had like a risky business plunge where you'd wear, sunglasses and a shirt that was kind of like a Tom Cruise type shirt from Risky Business. And there was just a whole bunch of different, like an 80s, theme or whatever. So you'd have some of the hours were sponsored, but there was some Fireball that we had to drink at times because you just got to stay
That's
warm.
awesome.
And the year that we did it, there was a snowstorm during the weekend that we were supposed to do it. So they had to delay it like by about 2 weeks. So it's like you're in your mind, you're all geared up to do it. And then the weather hits and then it gets delayed. But we ended up doing it. And it was actually really fun. It was Emily's 16th birthday. So she came and did a plunge with me at I think it was about 8 o'clock at night. My husband brought her up and she plunged in with me. And so anyway, that was fun. So.
That's
Good times. I
awesome.
might get back to it. I've taken a couple of years off from plunging. I might get back to it. It was always when Em was traveling for softball, because they travel in February. So we were always someplace sunny when it was going on. But guess what? I don't have that excuse anymore. So time to get back to it. So anyway, I'll probably plunge again this year. My nephew, he does the 5K for Special Olympics because my sister Holly, she also got into it, and my sister Megan. So it's kind of a family affair that we volunteer for it. But Holly, my sister Holly, coaches a unified team out in Clackamas County somewhere. So
Nice.
anyway, so it's been fun.
I'm so surprised we
So,
haven't run into
Laura-
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
At this point, winding down this section, we like to ask, from your vantage point now in this journey, looking back, is there some advice that you would give your 1991 graduating self that you would, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I would say it would just be, and it is kind of what I ended up doing, but I think it was something that was really important to me, is to build community wherever you are. And that for me has been, it's so enriching in my life to have, like, when, like Kari, like we were talking about when we moved back up here, I had my Santa Clara friends. And then once we had kids and they got into school, like my best friends now are my kids' friends' parents, There was a group of kids that went through the elementary school, and I actually worked at the school for a little while. I was the recess lady, which was really fun. And then I did some direct instruction reading for kids at Durham. And then this was my time in between when I was in packaging sales. And then when I got my real estate license, I had 4 separate jobs. I worked at Club Sport, which was a health club. And I just bartended and worked events and stuff at the bar there, so that I could be home with the kids during the day, and then my husband would be with them at night. So then we just didn't have the daycare situation. And so anyway, between my jobs, it actually was great because I met so many people that when I did finally get into real estate, then I just had and then with my kids' activities between, sports and dance, Claire did dance. So I had new people from the dance studio, and just building a community of people that give you, like, for another example was some of the things that I find to be the most rewarding in my life have been activities like getting a group of people together to do the polar plunge together. So we all get together and we make shirts together, and then we go do the event together, and then we go get food together afterwards. And then I put a thing out there. I wanted to go skydiving. So I put a little shout out on Facebook. I'm like, okay, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I'm waiting till my kids got older, and I want to do this. And then this group of people came together that, and actually Trina McGinnis was one of them, Mike, that it was like my brother-in-law, a friend that it was just a random group of people. None of them really knew each other, but it was kind of the spoke of the wheel, or I don't know, the hub of the wheel or whatever you'd want to say. And they were all kind of spokes in the wheel. And we put together this group of people and we all went up in a plane together and we all skydived together. And then we all went out afterward to a place in Canby and had a meal together. And it was so memorable. And it's just these kind of, those are things that for me really stick out. Is just, I love getting groups of people together, doing fun activities together, and then having those memories together. And so anyway, I think, like, to answer your question, Charles, is kind of just like building relationships with people, and they take work, and it's not, you have to continue to put yourself out there, even
Right.
though you might get no's sometimes because people are busy, and that's just how it works. And most of the time I find that your friend group is organically the people that your kids are spending time with, because like
That's
with
true.
sports and stuff like that, like we're still really good friends with a lot of the Portland State parents because we all traveled together with our kids. And then I was the one that was like, let's get on a group chat together. And so we're all on a group chat together. And then we all still, like, it's just that, and traveling with them and hanging out at the hotels when the kids are doing their thing. And it's just so much fun. That for
Yeah.
me is like the
Yeah.
meaning of life. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that
Yeah.
really makes my life fulfilling, is
That's
people,
wonderful.
That's awesome.
Fantastic answer. That is great.
Yay.
And I
Shall
feel
we
like
move
my
into
family, my extended family has that. My dad taught me that. I lost my dad in October of 2024, and it was very devastating. My dad was my person, it was very hard. We're talking about these seasons of life that we're in, and having aging parents and parents dealing with illness and that kind of thing is very challenging. I mean, it's like it really teaches you. Then one thing that I'm grateful for is that my kids were a little bit older during that time, so I'm not quite that sandwich generation that they're talking about, with when you have young kids and then your parents are aging and you're trying to deal with both. My kids were old enough that I could devote the time that I needed to help my dad when he was sick. And I helped my mom sell her house of 50 years. And my dad was in a care home because he wasn't able to live at home. And I had to help my mom get, into a one level home that was just a lot less work for her. And we had to clean out the entire house of 50 years that my parents had, and I cherish that time so much right now. I mean, it's like just that
Yeah.
time that I had one-on-one with my mom, going through all that stuff and getting the house ready to sell, that was so meaningful to our family. And my parents would get a house at Black Butte, and we still do it, 1 week every year, which is where we ran into Kari. They started when before we had any kids, and then we still 1 week a year, we get together there's about 21 of us now, but with boyfriends and girlfriends and all of that, there's times where we've had to get an extra house because this house is busting at the seams with our family. But it is such a great time that, like, all of the nieces and nephews that are like in their teens and 20s now, they do everything they can to get there for at least a portion of it because it's so meaningful for them. So I think that was taught to me, that cherishing family and friends was an example that my parents set for us, that really
Yeah.
I took that to heart. And when I was fresh out of college, I don't think I appreciated that as much as, you're trying to establish your independence and and
Yeah.
I think it takes some time and to really understand and appreciate how amazing your own family is,
It's
and
true. It's
I was
hard.
fortunate enough to have
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I think we are ready for the Fast at 5.
Oh,
Fast
wow.
at 5.
Yeah.
Fast and the
Yeah.
fast.
Okay, yes.
All right.
Oh, I guess I have the
Let's-
first question.
You do.
All right. Laura, these are 5 quick questions, just answers right off the top of your head. We just boom, 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 go right through them. Your first question is, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Okay. probably got to get some literature, literary great in there. Maybe like Louisa May Alcott or something like that, like a pioneer woman early on, that like wrote about women and that kind of thing would be great. And then maybe, I feel like I would want to assemble a little table, it'd be kind of
Yeah,
fun.
it's not a dinner party. It's just
I
one
think
person.
it's not a table. It's not a table. It's just, I would want to get my group of friends together.
That's it. All right. What's your favorite breakfast?
Okay, I'm trying to get oh my God, you guys, it's a full-time job being a perimenopausal woman. That's all, right, Kari? Is it not a full-time job? You got to get your protein in. You got to get your you got to get your
You got to eat
weightlifting
protein
in.
like it's your job.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get your fiber. You've got to get your, oh my God. Anyway, that's not the fast five, but that is one of my things about, there's not enough time in the day to be a perimenopausal woman. But I do, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go to there's a place called Birdie Lou's in Selwood that is a tiny little hole in the wall. And it's called the Larry Sandwich. And it is a croissant that is toasted perfectly with crispy bacon, egg, pepper jack cheese, and the croissant. And they give you the little potatoes. I mean, it's like you can't eat it very often because it's not among our, approved foods as a perimenopausal woman, but it is high in protein. So anyway, it is so good. And I go I take my niece to the orthodontist for my sister, and we go to Birdie Lou's and get every time I'm like,
I'm going to need to try that.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's such a cute little place, Kari. You'll love it. It's super cute little corner place right on Selwood, right on Milwaukee Avenue. It's so cute.
Awesome. I'm going to ask AJ's question too, because he has had connection issues today. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, we did a lot of karaoke with the Portland State Viking Parents and Love Shack. Oh my God. I'm a karaoke with a group of people. I am not a go it alone gal, but Love Shack is a good one with a group of people.
Cool.
And what would we have found in your cassette player, ghetto blaster, CD player in 1991?
Oh, I feel like I gave that already, right? Did I not? You would have had Steve Miller. You would have had God, what was my Steely Dan, U2, all of that. It's just that is good stuff. And of course I had I think at that time it would have been the cassette. It was yellow, right? You'd put a cassette in it and it was yellow. Walkman.
Well, your Walkman, your Sony Walkman with the
Sony
little
Walkman.
foam
Yeah.
headphones. You had
And
the
it was
Sport
yellow.
Walkman if it was yellow.
Oh yeah, the Sport. I think that was Sport was yellow. And that's what I would put in a tape and I would go, that's what I would use to run to the Rose Garden with.
I forgot about the Rose Garden. I'm glad you mentioned that. I remember running out there a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question. In an alternate universe, if you weren't doing what you're doing now and you could have any career, doesn't matter if talent, education, doesn't matter, what would it be? What completely different thing could you see yourself doing?
Man, God, I don't know. When my daughter was in high school, I was the announcer for her softball games, and that was actually really fun. I'm not knowledgeable enough. I might be now after
Doesn't
all these
matter.
years. At the time I wasn't knowledgeable enough, but it is so, college softball is so fun to watch. So I would maybe be an announcer for college softball.
I love it.
It would be fun.
Answer.
And go work the College World Series. That's a great tournament.
Yeah, totally.
Oh.
And also you get to go all these sunny places in the spring when everybody is, they're right now this weekend they're at Clearwater.
They're in Arizona.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing in Arizona too. They're all over the place down in the desert. So yeah, that was what my husband and I have both decided, like, okay, and we got used to going sunny places in the spring with Emily's because they can't play up here on the fields in February. So they go down. I mean, they go to, they went to Santa Barbara, they went to Hawaii, we went to Arizona, we went to all of these places. And so to be able to, now we're like, let's just go someplace sunny every spring, even if it doesn't involve softball. So this year we went down to Cabo and took the kids down to Cabo with us for a week in January, and it was awesome. One of the things I was going to say is I got together with Donna so she was Bayless at Santa Clara, and she's Berlinski now. And she met up with me at my daughter's games down in Arizona, because she is another one you should talk to, because she's had an interesting career path. Like, she has been all over the place, but she went back to law school in her 50s and became a lawyer. And now she works for, so it's crazy. She works for a nonprofit down in Arizona, helping families of domestic violence and protecting kids and stuff. So it's really important work that she's doing too. So between her and Tiffany, I was like, I'm a real estate agent. But we met up in Sedona for a girls' weekend, Tiffany and Donna and I, after having spent time with Donna down in Arizona. And then Donna, like I said, she came up with me to Santa Clara. So it's just, we've reignited this friendship that we had when we were younger. And that's one thing that's really kind of fun. Like now, like you were saying, Charles, with this stage in life, is you can pick and decide, who you get to spend time with now. It's not just organic, like who, it's really fun to be able to do that and to travel and go see people and all of that. It makes it so fun.
That's wonderful.
I'm so happy we reconnected here. This has been such a fun
Same.
conversation. Thank you so
Same.
much for sharing your story today. And
Absolutely.
I just feel like you cross so many different groups of people that it's going to be so fun for people to hear this and want to come on too. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope so. This has been thanks to you guys for doing this. This is so fun. Now I'm like, okay, well, I got to go to the reunion. I mean, so this is such a good segue for people. And I did go to a reunion a number of years ago. I'm trying to think. God, it was one of the ones that was like a multi-year. Like it was like 5 year. You know what I mean? It was maybe our 30th. No, God, what year? We're 95.
Could have been
about to do
30th.
30.
Yeah, now we're doing
35th.
35.
Okay, so it was probably our 25th then, maybe. But anyway, it was our 25th, and then it was like somebody else's 30th, and you know what I mean? It was a group of people at that reunion. But that was really fun to go to also. But this will be fun to just because now you have some context for what people are up to.
Oh, for sure. It's a good touch point. Well, thank you so much, Laura. This has been so wonderful.
It's been very fun.
Now, you've already mentioned Tiffany and Donna, but is there any shout out you would like to give to any of your Santa Clara peeps?
Well, I think you should probably get Susan on too, although I know she's a little shyer.
I've tried. I've emailed
she
her,
became
but
a biology teacher. Oh, did you?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But call her. Tell her she needs to be on the show.
Okay,
Tell her I'll host
will.
it. I need more combined sciences majors.
That's right. And maybe just like if I went on it, then it's like, okay, well, Laura did it. We should do it. You know what I mean? Like peer pressure.
All right.
That's good.
Well,
so
thank
I'm
you
trying
so
to
much.
think if there's anybody else. If I think of anybody, I'll let you know.
Good. Well,
let me look. Oh, I know. I was going to, sorry. I made a couple of notes. I wanted to, so my sister's son goes to TCU and he graduated. He's Claire's age. So he graduated last spring, but my sister texted me and she goes, and my brother-in-law, they were all down there for a parents' weekend at TCU. And they were like, do you know Eric Seestedt? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I know who Eric Seestedt is. He probably doesn't know me, but I know who Eric Seestedt is. And she goes, oh, his kid goes to TCU. So like in that same vein, Kari, with like everybody knows, it's like all of our kids are all in college now. And so they're all, there's this crossover that happens. And then the more you talk to people, the more you realize, that you have somebody in common with them.
I know.
Wow. We really
well
did
done.
that, didn't we?
You get an A.
Thanks so much for coming to Crossing the Alameda. If you're enjoying the show, please follow it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Share it with your classmates, and we'd love to hear from you. Write to crossingalameda@gmail.com if you'd like to be a guest or recommend a guest to the show. And thank you so much, Laura, for being here today. Thank you to all of the hosts, Mike, Kari, and AJ somewhere in the ether at this point. And we'll see you all next time.
Hey! Where'd everybody go?